Okay, I really hope the stream is not gonna have fucking problems. I really hope it's not gonna crash out. Okay. Anyways, hey guys, welcome back after ages of me disappearing because I can. Today I got like a bunch of time alone, so I can finally spend some time streaming. And yeah, today we're gonna do a conlanging streaming. Holy fuck, I can't speak English. But today we're gonna do a conlang stream. Um, because frankly, I don't know what else I could do. Uh, well, and you can see that I already have some stuff prepared here. Um, I should probably set y'all up, like some context. Essentially, this language family is supposed to be a bit similar to that of PIE, Pro-Indo-European, right? Um, which you maybe already could tell from the amount of laryngeals I just have stacked up here. Also, I don't have E and U, that's fine because they will come from E and, or Y and W, they'll come from E and U, so maybe E if I feel generous and awe, but I don't know about those yet. Um, so essentially, I'm just preparing stuff here for this is the pre-Perl language, and then I'm gonna do like ablaut stuff to create the Perl language. So far, I got these, and I got some plans on how I could spice shit up. So for sure, what I'm gonna do is pataka will go to badaga. They'll voice because they're emphasized. And then the next thing is that, well, technically, sla, ra, and la will pretty much become sera, la, except if they're word final. So if there's a vowel followed by sla, ra, la, so either one of those, and it's word final, then that will lengthen the vowel and then collapse these to s, r, la, word finally, right? So that's how we're gonna get long vowels, which I already actually have, and also, and it's not just s, r, la, we also have some laryngeal stuff. Ha itself, let me get that one. So ha itself will pretty much disappear because it's voiced and also pretty far back, but it will do the same lengthening stuff. Ha itself is very weak, so it will also be gone. Hoa and hoa both will become wa, right? And that's about it. So that's about the collapsing that's gonna happen. And yeah, so these are the consonant changes mostly, right? And also itself, word finally also causes lengthening. I just, wanted something that could word finally lengthen and then disappear. And I didn't want to use because is very weak. So these are like the plans for the consonants, and then the vowels are a bit interesting. Because there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7 vowels in total, right? And since we're doing a PIE-esque language, you're gonna have E, U, E, and O, right? These are gonna be our 4 vowels. And E and U are technically gonna be Y and W between 2 consonants mostly. And that's how I'm gonna do it. And then, you can notice that there's actually also 3 extra consonants, E, and O. Essentially, is pretty self-explanatory. It's just gonna disappear, right? So, because right now we have CVC syllable structure, and then I can just say that, it disappears. Also, another thing for consonants, if there's a 0 grade, So anything that disappears, right, in the upload process, followed by m, n, r, l, or any laryngeals, then that would cause um, it to be syllabic, right? If it's between two consonants, of course. So, and I can already show this. Here we get Lawson, which would probably turn into Lawson, right? It would turn into something like this. And also, you can see that there are like multiple types of stress. There's strong stress and weak stress. The basic idea is that strong stress is what creates non-ablating words, which essentially means that those words cannot change from affixes. And then we have weak stress, which creates ablating words, which essentially, when conjugated, may change their form. And then, of course, there's null stress, which always ablates technically, unless the suffix itself doesn't have a stress. So also, if there's a word with no stress, then the stress is going to just fall on the first syllable. I didn't really want to screw around with that. So, yeah. Now, back to vowels. We got E and all, which I didn't explain. Essentially, I can best explain this with PIE example, right? We got the word with, which gives us the English wet, right? But when you add the suffix r, which is always stuck in 0 grade, then with becomes water, because the r suffix tries its best to force the previous syllable to an O grade. So it becomes water, which creates, well, pretty much a suffix from water, right? So wet and water are both related. And essentially the idea is the same. So if we said that our this pre-proto word was, we got wet, which becomes a with, then we have a suffix or. So we get witar, which, and here comes the thing, the central vowels plus a are weak. They're weaker, in the sense that they are much more likely to 0 grade themselves. So by default, they 0 grade unless, I don't know, you got some word like, I don't know, patos, and then this is it's pretty much forced. Otherwise, you get dos, which, you know, doesn't sound very good. So instead, you get like something like bedos, and then technically it kind of breaks the rules of ablaut, but that's what makes it cool. But I don't know if you prefix it with something like, oh, let's mix something up, right? Let's say we got an affix of something like on, right? And then you get that prefix, and now you get on. Okay, wait, actually that doesn't work. That's in a vowel. So maybe just o, right? Then you get obdos, right? Which also begs, because my original plan, well, the original plan for the ablaut is a bit more complicated, but this is the base idea, right? And then E is, so E, where is it? Here it is. So E is the opposite of A. It's also weak, but instead of forcing an O grade, it forces an A grade. So say we had the word, I don't think I have a PIE example for this. So maybe we had, actually, right here, we have numbers, right? Let's see, we got Clapor, which would turn into Gepor as 1, right? And if we took, maybe like we had an, maybe there's an affix that turns quantities into, what is it called? Ordinals, right? So cardinals into ordinals. So maybe, oopsies, low key bind. So maybe we had an affix, something like is, right? Isla. Maybe isla. Then what we'd end up with is geperse. So not only did we remove the length because of this rule, but also this e forces the previous o to go to an e, right? It also fronts it. So we get geperse. And I don't know, later down the line that maybe becomes something like maybe something like Yevur. I'm just making shit up right now, and maybe like Yever, right? Technically, it's only a vowel alteration, but I don't really care. Or maybe even Yevir if we do umlaut, right? The mutation at least. So maybe like this game. I don't know. Really, possibilities are endless. And technically, I could also take these and act like they are like normal PIE words. And I've been also wondering if how PIE like I want to go. Because I could also do something a like a plosive that is like a plosive that has, pharyngealization on it is followed by maybe, right? Then maybe I could convert that to like, the aspirated stuff. So maybe something if we had like, let me see. Um, I don't think I have an example for this here, but either way, the idea is, for example, we had maybe not, maybe we had a tall, and and for difference, I have a tall. Then maybe we could do this. This becomes like dom, and this becomes dom, right? Which is more PIE-esque. I don't know about those yet. I'm more interested in the palatal veilers, which is you can see in Hakier, which probably will become, and yes, I'm gonna use PIE notation for these examples. It will become Hakier, which, yeah, it looks weird, but get used to it. So essentially, I'm really a fan of palatal veilers, and I want to have them. So I'm probably gonna have them, for sure. So we're gonna have, and we're also gonna have it for k. Well, all the difference is just that it's k followed by e followed by a vowel, which turns it into g followed by a vowel. Um, you know, there are the plans essentially. These are the ideas I've been brainstorming, and also I've been wondering like how different I can make pronouns from the original forms. And I've been wondering, like, what if you prefix like at least the first person with something like a son, which also steals the trend because it's strong stressed, and it's now it's technically gonna be an adjective, but if you prefix it, then well, I don't know, the base form is like I did earlier, que, then this form would be something like Sinkiao, Sinkiawan, or Sinkiawan. Probably Sinkiawan is the more likely one. Right, and it's very different. And I'm pretty sure you can do like a bunch of stuff with the palatal feelers. Like for example, if they're like maybe if we do syllabic unpacking first and we get like something like Senkewen, then you could say that palatal feelers lose their palatalization, like if they're in a cluster. So this becomes Senkewen. Hold on. I can't type. Uh, and okay, in the meanwhile, we'll turn into something like a che, right? And then Senkawen, it could lose like that's right, like the Attic way, you know, like how Greek did it. It's why we have hex. It literally comes from ancient Greek hex, which you know can come from swix, which gave us the English six, you know. So we got like Henkawen and an Inkawen. Well, this one retains it, right? So we got something like by the end we got like something like che and Enkoen, right? Enkan, maybe this combines with Enkan. We got che and Enkan, which is already pretty, you know, pretty different. Maybe you might draw like the conclusion that, you know, this ch and k might have to do something with each other, but you know, from like a normal perspective, when you're not a linguist, you'll see this and like, yeah, that definitely comes from two different words. And so that's the basic idea. Um, yeah, pretty much. Now, what do I want to do today? I'm not gonna do I'm not gonna do like changes yet because I want to first like complete stuff here. I also put down some basic ideas here. Like, you know, it's gonna be base 8 with their number system, subject, object, verb. Also, base 8, I'm actually wondering what if I don't do base 8 and instead I do like something like base 6, right? Because if you think about it, base 6 is essentially you count from 0 to 5 on one hand, and the other hand keeps track of how many times you counted over 5, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 is 1 on one hand and 0 on the other, and then 7 would be 1 on both hands, right? You get me? So that could be more logical. So I could like get rid of some words I don't like nidre, which would become something like nidre. I don't know if I like that. Tell I could get rid of it. No, who cares? Is actually it's also good. Nikahti, I could get rid of that for sure. And then maybe get rid of the word for 3 and 3, 4, 5, and then 10, 100, 1000. And that should be nice. That should be nice. I'm also wondering that technically I don't need to use cajones, like last syllable, to express plurality. I could also pretty much use like pulse and use that pulse suffix, right? Because that's 10, that's like 6, but right, but it's still not a small number. It's like, you know, more than one hand, if you could say it that way, right? Which actually gives me a good idea, right? Because base 6, if you say that, for example, you have some, right? Or handful, if these two mean the same thing, then you could say that this comes from the expression either hand or one hand. Because that's like 1 to 5, you know? And then when you have 6, then you already need two hands to count, which would mean like, you know, it's like more. So you know, like you have some and you have a lot or many, which could come from, you know, like either 10 or 100 or 1000, of course, or it could come from two hands, you know, or like, you know, a lot of hands. Like you get it? Like it's very funny. I could transform these. Hmm. Truly interesting. Um, hmm. Interesting, really. I actually had a word for hand. Something like, I don't know. Actually, I could use some word generator because I have gem. Let me get this one pulled up here. Right? Here's this one. Oh, I have to get the consonants of all. Oh my goodness. That's gonna be fun. Okay. Luna. pataka, pataka, sa. And then I have to give all these special characters. Oh, that's gonna be beautiful. Ha, ha are pretty easy. Ha, ha are pretty easy. And then I guess the labials can be represented using the capitals. I'm not sure if, oh, hey, that does have a symbol. Ah, yes. And then ra, ra, la, la. That's gonna be, hold on, I'm gonna put the notation properly. And then e, u, e, o, and all. So put these in. I just gotta give it some, oh, rewrite rules. I have to do this too. Because, you know, you get all these special characters that I can't write in one. So, pa, ta, ka. And what else was there? Why am I skipping back though? It's right here. You got sa, then ha, ha, wa, and ra and la. I think that's all. So now I gotta enter all those special characters. Yes, please. Gotta suffer more with this shit. Okay. That's the easy part. I mean, you know, now I can just enter all the characters and I can get some fresh words. I'm using word generators because honestly, if I try to make words myself, I either tend to skip over some consonants and vowels, like I don't use them as frequently, or I make like pretty boring ones, you know. I want to get some more interesting ones. You know, I'm just gonna get a word list as a table. Monosyllables, sure. Oh, I didn't give syllable types. Oopsies. Got CV, CVC, VC, and V. Oh, yes. Now that's much more like it. Now we can just hunt for some. Um, oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. Okay. Something like this could actually be interesting. So if we say that our word for hand is palmeko, then I don't know where to put the stress. I could put it on the last syllable actually. So we have something like palmeko. Then let me get this out of here. And we say that some comes from one hand. Then we put to kepar, like the first syllable of that, and attach hand onto the end. And we have this word for some. And for a lot, we said like maybe like two hand could be good. So we could get the first syllable again, two, and add tameko, and it end up with these words. Actually, I'm gonna put the hyphens in there just to keep track. And let's say we do the ablaut stuff, right? So that would end up as this would be O, this would be a 0 grade. This would be a 0 grade, but since it's like, you know, in a such condition, it would be actually no, it can be 0 grade because it's next to sonorant. And then, you know, this would stay. And then, of course, we do the other stuff. So this turns into a g, this turns into a d, and then we get gebdimko. And here, 2 is weak stress, so it would still lose the stress on itself. And we can do the same thing, of course, again. Like this. This turns into a d. So we got dudumko. And while the main word for hand itself would be dumko, I think. Maybe dumko or domko. But actually dumko is more likely. Um, it doesn't really change a whole lot. So I'm wondering how I can take the stress away from hand. Maybe like suffixing instead of prefixing the numeral, you know? And then let's see. Grab that, put at the end, and then that would take the stress away from the main word actually. So we'd have, let's see, this wouldn't take away the stress. And this would end up as dnkoge, but this one would lose its stress actually. And then this would be the main focus. So do. Um, these are already zero graded. So kodu. So I either make it tunkodu, or I say that this becomes zero, meaning this forces it to be an A. And then I don't know, maybe lose this. So to make do or do make do. Either could be possible. Um, interesting. Interesting. I'm gonna think about this. Also, I don't like this root much. Okay. Um. Anyway, I probably should advance with actually doing stuff, and I think the best way is to continue with probably verbs, since they are like one of the most important stuff. So verbs. Let's see. What can we do with verbs? Uh, hmm. Because they do have to have a tense and aspect at least. They do have to have a person who's doing it. They have to have some other stuff. Actually, for this, I already looked at Proto-Indo-European verbs, like how they have stuff, to get some inspiration. And there's a bunch of stuff. For the aspect, I'm not gonna copy it. I don't like exactly how it's how it is. So I'm more of a fan of having, at least an imperfective and a perfective in some way. So there has to be an ongoing and a finished action. That's like the most important part of an action. Is it ongoing or is it already finished? Then voice, I think that's optional. Active voice, when there's a subject and an object, and then the medial passive when the subject is the object itself. So it's like reflexive, I guess. Yeah, reflexive. And then mood. Mood is interesting because there's like indicative, subjunctive, optative, and imperative in Proto-European, right? Indicative for statements perceived as factoriality, which is kind of the default, I think. Then subjunctive, hypothetical statements, which mostly, I guess, turn into future or stuff. And the optative for statements of wish or hope, which I think could be actually fused with the imperative. So also it says that this mood was not used in the first person, right? Which I find weird, to not use an imperative in the first person, like all persons, because in Hungarian, for example, you can put an imperative on any person. So instead of just saying Ted, which means, do, it's like do, like you do, then I could say tegyem. I think that's how it's written. Tegyem meg. Which essentially means that I must do would be like the approximate translation, but it's essentially an imperative for me. And I think it's useful when, for example, you're telling a story and you say, for example, azt mondta, hogy egyem meg, which translates to, he said that I must eat it. He told me to eat it, essentially. And in this case, meg is an imperative. So I'm saying that if I was him, that like I'm saying that he told me to eat it as an imperative, right? And in this case, it's a first person in imperative, and not not any other one. And I'm not using, like English uses all these phrases to get around all this stuff, but some languages, like Hungarian, can do this without that. So anyway, back to these indicative, subjunctive, and imperative. I think optative can be skipped because I'm pretty sure it could be either optative could either be fused with subjunctive or imperative. I'm more on the side of imperative because you wish or you aggressively wish kind of could be the same stuff. So for sure we have to have like a default something, and then we could have an imperative as well. And there's also a subjunctive for hypothetical statements, which actually sounds good. So something like hypotheticals, and then an imperative, right? Which already combines nicely. Then we of course got the, oh my goodness, I can't speak. Then we of course got the persons, and here's when I'm confused because I didn't include a third person because in PIE as well, technically the third person didn't exist, and instead you said like that one or this or something like that, right? You used like pointers like this said instead of he said, right? Like the person, you said the person said. So instead of using like pronouns, they use like ways to get around. Essentially, actually, no, it is pronouns. It's just not in the sense you would expect it to be. Um, so the third person does have to have a conjugation. So we'd have first, second, and third combined with singular, dual, and plural, which would give us 9. And yeah, so we said we can skip the voice. Tense, I think that's kind of connected to aspect. And these are just expansion of tense, so it doesn't really matter anymore. Person and number, yeah. So anyway, now back here. So what this gives us? It gives us, let's see. So the default, I think, also tense. Actually, we don't have a tense yet. So we have to have a present, obviously, and we have to have at least a past. So, and now I'm thinking, if I take the present, for example, right, and have these two. If you said present perfective, that would mean that the present action right now is completed, which, doesn't make a lot of sense because how would the present be already complete if the present is the moment now and the complete is, a moment, that already happened before the present, like it doesn't make a lot of sense. But if we said that the present perfective exists, then this could give us the past, and the present imperfective could give us the present, right? So essentially, we could combine this to get the present and the past, and then the future is more interesting because here on the wiki it says that the subjunctive mood, which was the hypotheticals, remember, this included especially future events. So essentially, the hypotheticals could evolve either either they could stay as hypotheticals or they could become the future. And again, I'm thinking that I can use this imperfective perfective split somehow. The future imperfective and the future perfective, which I'm not going to call future, I'm going to call it hypothetical. The hypothetical imperfective and hypothetical perfective. The first one is that it may be happening, And the second one is it may have happened. And I don't know which one could fit better for a future. So like, one of them has to become a future and one of them has to stay as a hypothetical. Oh my goodness, I can't have hypothetical. Jeez. So that could be interesting. I don't know which one to be which one. like maybe this stays as the hypothetical and this becomes the future. This is I'm just brainstorming right now, and so that could be interesting. Or alternatively, like an alternative version of this is that the future itself has like a verb to it, you know, kind of an auxiliary verb, which I didn't include here. I should have the order. So yeah, like that, and then auxiliary verb and verb, like this. Or we could flip it around already. Oh goodness. We could flip it around. So have the verb first and then have the auxiliary. Because, you know, I could do like, you know, it's has final and everything is has final, but I'm not gonna do that for everything because even modern languages and even back then languages used to be mixed in most cases. Even Latin was mixed. Um, so future could be an auxiliary verb on its own. And then, you know, the hypothetical just, you know, stays the hypothetical. So the hypothetical imperfective becomes the hypothetical, and the perfective, you know, is non-existent in that sense. Um, what else is mentioned here? I don't think other stuff are mentioned here about how verbs are built. So I guess that's all. So I'm thinking let's construct some stuff. So we're gonna have a present, we're gonna have a past. Also about the past, how would you distinguish between ongoing stuff in the past and complete stuff in the past, right? How would we do that? Because we said that the present is like a default, and then the present imperfective becomes the present, and the present perfective becomes the past. How would we have a continuous past? Because this past says that, you know, something like I ate, because it happened. But what if I wanted to say I was eating? Like, obviously one option is that there is no difference, which I think it exists. I don't think I can say an example language right now, but I'm pretty sure that there is a language that does this, at least one. And so we could either do that, or we could again go the auxiliary verb way and have some auxiliary, something like to be, to, you know, something like have the past be the complete, so it's gonna be the perfective, and be plus the past, or past plus be. Oh my goodness, Jesus Christ. Past plus be becomes, you know, the imperfective. So that could be interesting for sure. Um, that's one option. Although I'm pretty sure I could also get away with taking the past and then doing double marking on it. Like, let me just move this aside a bit. So maybe doing like double marking, because I'm gonna say that the imperfective is, so the the present is unmarked. The imperfective is unmarked, and the default is unmarked. And then these are gonna be, you know, special marking. And then the past, I'm gonna delete it from here. So the present is like it's the only tense technically. And the perfective has some marking. I don't know, maybe like to do. Hold on, like this. Something like plus to do. And hypotheticals and imperatives. Actually, imperatives could be better with to do. And then perfective could come from something like, I don't know, to finish, or I don't know, complicated. It's complicated. What verbs can create like a perfect, like a complete action? To do is one. To be would be rather making it imperfective, which actually I could do that the perfective is unmarked and then the imperfective is marked with to be. I don't really want to do that because I feel like imperfective makes more sense being a marked. Um, hmm, I'm just gonna write to finish for now, but this is pretty much temporary, so I'm just gonna bold it. Um, Hypotheticals to what? Hypotheticals could be interesting as well. Because how would you mark a hypothetical in a proto-language? Um, hmm. Actually, I don't know, I want the suffix of verb, but what if it's not a verb that's suffix, but like something like a word meaning maybe? Because I'm pretty sure in a proto-language you gotta have some kind of word that means something along the lines of uncertainty, you know? So it I don't know. It's especially confusing if you look at it like, it's gotta be a verb, then what kind of verb would it be? Hmm. Hmm. So don't mind me drinking. Hmm. Uh, hmm. I don't know. I don't know about this yet. There's gonna be the question mark here. The first, second, third, singular, dual, plural could be the first and second could be derived from the pronouns itself, right? The third person is more interesting. Um, I'm wondering how you could do the third person because we don't have a pronoun for it, right? Third person is kind of inferred from this, that, person, etc. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Um, okay. We got a decent plan here. So I say we start making some endings, and I'm also gonna bring this down over here. So, also I gotta add like an order, as in like what order are these in? Like, like, what order do you add the suffixes in? Because I could say that, it's undefined and pretty much just free order, um, which could then, cause it to be different in languages. Or I could define a default order that then gets reordered in languages. Both are possible. I'm gonna say that there's like the default holy shit, I just forgot the word for it. Uh Default order, yeah, is gonna be the stem followed by, well, the tense, only really one tense exists, so we're not gonna include that. Imperfective or perfective, I think that's aspect. So aspect. Then we add a mood and then the person, possibly. Stem, aspect, mood, person is the default order. So I say let's start making some endings. First up, the aspect. So verb aspect. We're gonna create a chart here and pretty much two endings, imperfective and perfective. And I'm just gonna do some formatting here to match it up with my other tables. Oops, this one. So imperfective is gonna be unmarked and perfective. I'm not gonna do anything yet. Then that's aspect. Then we got mood. Um, so we got three moods. We got a default, which, what do I call the default mood? What? Because here it's called indicative for statements perceived as fact or reality. I could just steal the name and say that this is an indicative, which kind of sounds boring, to be honest, and I don't like stealing that much. Um, I'm just gonna do this. Give me a second here. There we go. We got the unmarked, right? And then hypothetical, which we don't know yet. We don't know the perfective either. And then an imperative, which would be to do. I'm just gonna write it next to here, so to do. Imperative. Then we have a hypothetical, which here it's called subjunctive. I'm just gonna name it hypothetical, or hypothetic, actually. Hypothetic. And then, uh, I don't know. I don't know. What do I call it? If not indicative and not default. Normal. I don't know. Uh, yeah, you know what? Let's just call it indicative. Fine. Let's call it indicative. Hypothetic and imperative. So those are the three moods. And then person is more interesting because it needs a bigger chart. Of course, I forgot how to type. So we got three of these columns. Hold on. Oopsies. Sometimes I hold control down too far. So we're gonna do the first, the second, and the third, and singular, dual, and plural. Also, don't mind like how I don't even keep these charts consistent with styling. It really does vary a lot. So these ones, the first and second could be derived from the pronouns itself, which we already have here. So I'm also just gonna need the base forms actually. We got requiert, which I think I could get away with just doing, I don't know, so just R, I guess. Also, I have to make sure that somehow it stays, or actually, I don't think I need to do that because the issue with R is if it's not stressed, it could go to zero grade and it on its own. If there is no vowel before it, word finally it just disappears. So that might leave the first person singular to be unmarked, which could be really funny. And actually, I kind of like that. I kind of want to keep it in. Okay, then second person, I could do the same thing. I just do ut, but the thing with that is it's probably either going to be zero grade or id, like the or id, which could be boring. Although the base pronoun would turn into something like und, which could turn into and, and then maybe the md cluster turns into a n simply. It's like on, while the verb marking is the, which actually doesn't sound that bad. You know what? Oopsies. You know what? Actually, let's do this. Why did I underline it though? Hold on. I'm just gonna select this and what is underlining? What? What did I do? Hold on. Okay, there we go. So I could just do up like that. And dual and plural, those are more interesting. How would I do that? So grab L and maybe like add something onto it. Same for up, which let's see. We have to do something with the number two. So maybe I'd like tu or I don't know. Ich, maybe. Ich could work. Like this. Which this one would turn into A and the other one would turn into B. Okay, that's not intended, okay? I know, I'm such a funny guy. It's not intended, okay? Um, hmm. I kind of don't want to give it away that it's related to the other pronoun though. Uh, Maybe add a plosive in there. But that's also the fucking cow. Okay. You know what? Actually, the dual is not the one I care the most about, so that could stay. And then the plural, uh, I derived it from horn, but I could just as well derive it from rehuec and from pulse. And actually, what if I do pulse here? So I just grab pulse and add it on the end. Yeah, that could work. Which would give us eus or us. Either eus or us. And the other one would give us dus. The problem with that is that see how like that they're too like they're too similar. And if you look at the standard PIE conjugation, you guys esi eti almost ete onti, right? So maybe like the t and the e is like there, but other than that, it's very different from each other. So I don't want it to be too similar to each other, to be honest. Which is why I'm thinking actually, what if we derive the plural from different the ending? Also, what is the almost it is it? Why those two are the same? Okay, interesting. Uh, Also, yeah, you can see that PIE has a bit of different stuff because it has all these fused endings. I'm not gonna do that fusional yet. That's gonna evolve. That's gonna be tough. Um, hmm. So I could do the same actually with the dual pronouns or the dual endings. So maybe derive one of them from tu. So like el tu, remove the stress of course, which would give us edu as that ending, while the other one is the right, not the, which I'd say is fairly different. But then the issue is that right here we get an id ending, which is very similar to edu. But again, I don't care that much about the dual. So I could say that, the first person derives itself from the beginning, and the second person derives itself from the end, which technically would mean that I actually would have toi here, but I don't want to go too nouny. Okay, so here the plural, for example, we could derive this from po, which would become ebo. That is too similar to fucking edu. Um, let's rethink this one. Maybe like just simply to make ek, but then I don't know. Okay, and the other end, actually, hold on, I'm thinking. I'm being a mastermind here right now. Um, hmm. Why should I use 1000? I mean, right here I use the end of 1000 to get us the plural ending. But what if I don't use that one? Because again, we said that this is base 6, right? And then numbers 1 to 5 fit on one hand, but then when you gotta count, above 5, you gotta use the other as well. Which, so we could either drive it from pulse, Richweg, or cajon. Um, hmm. Decisions, isn't it? Uh, Maybe I could use actually just arroy here, which should give us air as the ending, which I guess isn't that bad. Although I could see that lengthening and turning into an A, but then by that time maybe this would be just an E, because it's shortened and I get unstressed. I don't know. We'll see. And the plural second person could come from the end, which is ek, like that. Also, what I'm noticing is that, for example, where is it? Here, for example, in the athematic ones, right? You got uh, like the singular ones are unstressed, but the dual and plural forms have the stress and steal the stress, which could be an interesting gimmick to include. So maybe, um, I don't know, here I give them the stress on the plural ones, uh, which could create some interesting stuff, unless the verb has strong stress, in which case it does not steal. Um, hmm. Okay, I like that. The third person, I'm gonna leave it empty for now because I don't know what I'm gonna derive the third person from. In fact, I may as well, like, but I cannot. It has to have some conjugation because you still gotta say somehow that he, she, it, or this or that did it, right? You still gotta somehow express that it was a third person and not me or you. Um, hmm, I don't know. I'm gonna leave that empty for now. My hands are cold. Uh, hmm. Well, this is interesting. Uh, let's do an example conjugation just to get a feel. Uh, we need a root. Perfect source to get a root. Maybe a keel, which has too many central vowels, so I'm gonna reduce it to this, and I'm gonna give it weak stress. This will be forced to turn into an A, so it will turn into a keel in the base form, and it has a stress on that E, right? I'm gonna actually not, I'm not gonna lengthen it just yet. Um, I'm not gonna lengthen it just yet. I'm gonna leave it short for now. But in the base form, technically it should lengthen. Also, that gives me a new thing. The infinitive. How are we gonna express infinitives? Because one option is to just have the base form, the verb sitting around doing nothing. But another one is maybe, I don't know, have some ending, like something suffixed on that could mean, something along the lines of ability or just anything that could turn into an infinitive. And I don't know where to put that, to be honest. I'm just gonna add it here, infinitive, question mark. So, let's take this verb conjugation chart and just, oh wait, hold on. I gotta do some hackery here just to collapse down the endings, and then I can just copy this and replace the dashes with our verb, right? And then I can just trace it down. So this would be ekile, ekile. Then this would be ekiled, probably. So ekile and ekiled. Then ekiledu. Or maybe ekiled. No, but U cannot go zero grade because it's technically a W in this guy. So this is technically a W, but we're not supposed to say that. And then this would be ekildih, something like that. And then this is where it gets insertion because this one steals the stress. So it's now on that A, and I'm pretty sure that's not going to change anything because E is also a semi-vowel, technically. So It's not gonna change a whole lot in this root. But it would become, so this would lose the stress, and it would be uh, hmm. Would it lengthen if there was a zero gradient? I think not. So it would become équilibre. And here's the stress instead. And then this one, it wouldn't even have a stress because the schwa is stress, which would disappear. So équilibre, I guess. Yeah. I don't like how all endings have the duh in them. It's kind of throwing me off. Actually, I don't like these endings at all. Oh, guys, it's hard. Hard. Okay. Delete these, start over. So, what do we do with these endings? Huh. If I have a stressed A after this one, that will force it to be zero grade, but then this would also disappear, so I need some consonant in there. Do I have anything that could do that? Um, hmm. Actually, I'm wondering, why am I deriving it from the same ending, right? Why am I deriving it from this one? What if I derive it from different parts of the pronoun? So instead of taking up in the end, I could take a, which would go zero grade. That's not good. But I could take m from it, so but oh, hold on, that's zero grade. Oh no, that forces O grade. Oh, hold on. I do have a fix for that. No, I don't. Hmm. Because it forces the previous A or it forces the previous A to turn into an O grade. Uh, hmm. That's an issue. That's an issue because uh, it would have to skip over central vowels, wouldn't it? If it doesn't, then I could do just like an empathetic there and then add the ending. Oh wait, hold on, the wrong one. Because actually there's an here, right? I could just say that came over here, but then we get and then we add a dual ending on it, which is e in this case. So this would become a mi, I guess. Yeah, I think it would. It would become mi. I'm actually wondering what if I add something in here that could turn into. Actually, now I'm wondering why did I make this an O? Why don't I make an O already? Right? Which could cause it. In fact, that would cause this, the central vowel could cause it to automatically be full grade. So now the ending would be omi, which isn't good. Because here, you know, it's like next to it, and that's why good. That's why it's good. Hmm. Then we could get rid of the us. It's now either omi or oh my goodness. Can I stop jumping like down to the bottom of the page? Or me, right? Depending on whether that O gets zero graded or not. Um, hmm, interesting. I'm actually more interested in splitting up this E, so maybe we could have something like an A or an OI in here. So that would mean that we could get rid of this M here. So the OI, OI, and then we either have an OI or an E as an ending, which aligns with the pronoun, by the way, because that's just the first syllable, which we did here with ohoe. Except here, it actually turns into an O, right? It actually turns into oh. Hmm. That's pretty nice, actually. Hold on, I kind of like that. Okay, okay, okay. Um, Now we just gotta find out what we should do as the dual first person ending. And now that's the real question. Riddle me this, what do I do here? Uh, hmm. Well, technically we got the first syllable, which is huh, right? We got huh, and hmm, um, I don't know, huh, and then ich as well. That would be too similar, right? That would ruin it. We could include ka, like ki, as a syllable, and then just add the hoa onto it. But I said that we could also take like the different parts, so maybe like tu, and now here comes the issue with palatal veilers. This would either become kidu or kidu. But then we said that if it's part of cluster, then technically the kia could turn into ka again. Ktu. Wait, no! No, 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 no. Wait. No, it can. Hold on. Oh my goodness, this is confusing. Uh, ooh, oh goodness, that's difficult. Uh, because if I added e, just hua, then we'd end up with an ending of q, right? That would be our ending, regardless of grade before. We have q, which would turn into either just kya or oh goodness, or kyo. Oh, let me there we go. Much better. So that one and that one doesn't really matter. It's branch dependent. I'm gonna leave it as this, but I'm not entirely sure. And a plural, which I wanted to steal the stress from the root. Then I could say that this steals ha, and then this has won added in, won with a weak stress, which would turn into one as an ending. Or if it doesn't manage to steal the stress, then it will just one. So we wouldn't have hoon, sadly, because of the right there. Can I cut that off? Actually, I can. I can. You know how? I can cut it off if I say that it's in the beginning instead of the middle. So if it's a yeah, because then Because I said that there could be a rule where essentially if a vowel is followed by an or reverse, so an is followed by a vowel, then I could say that that schwa gets deleted and we can just get a vowel, right? So then this is just a placeholder. And even if it can't get replaced by a vowel, it would just disappear. But if it can get replaced by a vowel, and that vowel is O, and the root is strong stressed, then this would turn into an ending of un instead. Holy shit, I'm actually cooking. Okay, plural. We already did ut, we already did on or o. Which part do we take? Uh, on, maybe? We could take on. And then add on as well. Hmm. Or ka. Or I could add ka, which gives us onka, which is an ending, will either be onk or mk. Hmm. Pretty nice, pretty nice, pretty nice. I say this is good. I actually like this one. I just said that this one doesn't steal stress. Oh no. Now I have to figure some shit out. Actually, uh, hmm. Or I could say that I'm just gonna say that, hey, this guy gets stress, lol. And then the ending would either be omk, or it could be omk, or it could be mk, depending on how the verb is built, right? If it has no stress like that, then it's omk. If it has weak stress or strong stress, but it doesn't end in an O, and that O is, and also it's not that or it ends in an O, but that O is stressed, then it becomes omk, and otherwise it becomes mk. It's a bit hard to follow, but trust me on this one. Trust me on this one. Third person, I'm gonna skip for now. And oops. Now I want a better route, or I could just make my own up. So I want something that doesn't ablaut, which in this case something like let's do bad bear, right? Which would turn into bear. And bear, which conjugated, let's see. Let's remove the useless stuff, then replace the remaining hyphens with these ones. And let's get cooking. So this would become bere, then bear. Bear. Actually, I could do a funny thing where somehow that gets lengthened. Nah, I'm not gonna do that. Actually, now I'm wondering, if we had the PI word pods, right? How would that receive lengthening? Because then you get pod. So it's obviously the sir doing that shit. So you'd have the base form pod. It's not pod, it's ped, but doesn't matter. Like ped or pod is the default. And then what would he add that would lengthen it? Like I know that this one would, but pods is not valid. So I need some vowel after. So maybe pods, which would Okay. Yeah, that's okay. It's difficult. I'm gonna think this through. So that's fine. So here, let's continue. So this will become berkich, right? And this one will become stop beroi. And this will become ber berhon berhon, and it does not replace, berhon, and this will become ber berong. Nice. So that's bear or bear. Then let's see a different one that could have blowed something like tolko, maybe. Right? So we got tolko, which could ablaut very easily, and it becomes dolko in the Perl language. So I'm just gonna copy this over and instead replace fire with our new word tolko. And let's see, this will become dolko, that will become either dolko or dolke. More on the side of dolke. This would become dolkod, dolkod. Then this will become dolkoki, and this becomes dolkoi, because too much repetitions of o and that silences it. So we got dolkoi. Then here we get, actually we cannot rely on this anymore, so I'm gonna copy this over. So here these O's lose their stress. This silences, this becomes onk. This O gets 0 graded, so dolk onk is gonna be, which turns it to dolk onk. And here there's a 0 grade here, which prevents that O from 0 grading, but this one then is forced to 0 grade, so we get dulkohon, right? So we get the conjugation for dolko, which is dolke, dolkod, dolkoki, dolkoi, then dulkohon and dolkonk. Which I like that, actually. I like that. Okay. Nice. Okay, and now we need a verb that would force this into an U, which means we'd need a verb ending in an O that has some consonant and then a stressed O. Actually, we could do that the same way, just instead of using tolko, we use tolko, which becomes the same verb technically and has mostly the same conjugation. Instead, all I gotta change is that this one is weak stress and this one is strong. So it's pretty much the same conjugation, except here, because here we got dolko, the is deleted, and then we get a h, and because of the o, the other o becomes a 0 grade, making we get dolkohun. And here, that o also gets 0 graded, meaning we get dolk. Nice. I think that's about all the variation there is to the endings, other than also one that ends in A, that is an unstressed A, because then that causes this ending to just completely kill itself, right? Yeah, that would cause this ending to kill itself and turn into a zero. So if this is why we need an infinitive, because then if we had okay, which would become this would become okay. If it had an A, maybe even another consonant, I don't know, dolkes, then this one, so let me do this. Like this. So then here, dolkese, that would turn to dolkes. You know, it wouldn't change. And then, or maybe it could turn into dolkes because this A zero graded and then deleted itself. And then because it's there, you know, through the consonant, it could do that. So it would be dolkes. Dolkest. Then dolkeski and dolkes. I think it would silence the O. Dolkes, Dolkeshun and Dolkesunk. Dolkesunk. So another version would be that instead it just lengthens the A inside. Huh. Interesting, truly. I think that's hopefully I didn't put any examples there. Let's just select it and delete it like that. Okay. So it works nice. I think we got decent verb endings that I kind of like. Now we just gotta figure out the rest, which probably will come from other verbs. And I still don't know what to do with the hypothetic. I still don't know what it should come from. So great. But at least we got these. And then the infinitive itself, the infinitive ending, I don't know. What should the infinitive be? I don't know yet. I'm just gonna leave this empty. Okay, that's nice. And yeah, should be good. Huh. Hmm. What do we do? We got verbs mostly done, I guess. So, uh, we could move on to nouns, which are also important because I haven't thought about noun cases yet. I should put that somewhere as well. I'm leaving around too much notes. Uh, first as well. Okay. Let's think more. What kind of noun cases do we want? For sure, we're gonna have a nominative, right? The default. Then we're gonna have an accusative to somehow mark, objects. A dative is pretty nice, and a genitive could go as well. Nominative, accusative, dative, genitive. For sure, these are pretty important, right? These are like in 99% of languages that have noun cases, they have these. What else? We have to somehow express location. Now, location is interesting because it could be the same as genitive, because saying that X is at Y could mean the same thing as, Y is X. So it could be pretty similar, which is one possibility. So either a genitive or a genitive locative. Actually, I should just abbreviate these so that's easier for me. And if you got any questions, you can ask. Nominative, accusative, dative, genitive, or a genitive locative. Then we need to somehow describe motion in some form, which in most cases is an ablative, which I think is moving away from, which is an issue because moving away from also collides with the genitive. So that is why, actually I'm going to look at noun cases, because I'm pretty sure I had I found some kind of page list of grammatical cases. Here it is. I think it's pinned here. Yeah, it is. So right here, I got a shit ton of stuff. We got a location, okay? Then motion from and motion to. Motion from, ablative case, near and inside, right? This, you can see it's in a shit ton of languages. And so that's interesting. And motion to, which seems to be in less languages, which is interesting. Like why there is less ablative cases. Just to the house or onto the house, which is kind of similar to the dative, I guess. So I'll give it that. So it's kind of similar to the dative. So ablative could actually be different, but the ablative could also be the genitive somewhat. I'm gonna say the ablative is separate. So we got nominative, accusative, dative, genitive, or genitive locative, and an ablative. These are pretty important. Now, morphosynthetic alignment. We had a nominative and an accusative, right? And we also had a dative, which is also important. Instrumental, another important one. What if you want to say, I studied, or maybe no, I walked. Okay, let's say I went by foot, or something like that. Then by foot, their foot is in the instrumental case. You went by means of your feet, right? So it's one thing. And an instrumental comitative, it seems rarer. I think it's actually more common that the instrumental and comitative are in a single case. I feel like that's more likely that it's a single case, meaning both, because the two are very similar. Hence, English pretty much has a universal one which could mean both. The only difference is that instrumental is, using what, and comitative is, like together with something. But an instrumental could be nice. An instrumental could be nice. Oblique. I've heard about oblique. I'm not sure what it does. No, okay, sometimes the vocative. Huh? Okay. Um, relation. Here it is, for example, commutative case. Here's a dative. You can see it's like basically in every single language. Uh, here it is. What? Scottish Gaelic is marked as a dead language. That's funny. Here's commutative. Uh, with the house, you can see it's accompanied with instead of using something. Uh, so that could be interesting. Genitive, yeah, we did that. Uh, and that's about it. That's about it. And then semantics, which is some extras. Now here we have some, like a lot next to the vocative, and that's why I'm so tempted to include a vocative case. Proto-Indo-European also has a vocative, and it still does exist in some languages, in some Indo-European languages, such as in Russian, for example, you have Bog, meaning God, and you have Bože, meaning, God is like an exclamation. Uh, so that could be, yeah, Russian rare, it's marked here. There's also other ones which, just have it as like normally have it. And a lot of these are actually Indo-European languages. Um, those have state, which sounds interesting. We have essive, temporary state of being. Translative, turning into, or abassive, meaning lacking, which exists in anything but Indo-European languages. Um, hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Huh. Hmm. What else can we actually need? What else do we need? I'm pretty sure this is actually enough. Though ablative as the only one, actually, I think I'm gonna be generous. I'm thinking we could either have a locative. So I'm not gonna have a genitive locative. I'm actually either gonna have a locative or an inessive. Locative is this general location at, in, on, anywhere. And inessive is specifically inside. Both of which are possible. If you look at location, I said location. Here we got the locative case. Inessive, actually, that's a few languages, very small amount. Adhesive in Hungarian. Pretty sure we don't have adhesive, but okay. Uh, locative seems the uh most common, I guess. Interesting. I'm gonna say we have a locative. Nominative, accusative, dative, genitive, instrumental, uh, locative, ablative, vocative. Meaning we got 8 cases. Nominative for subject, accusative for object, dative for secondary objects and recipients, genitive for possession, instrumental for, yeah, instrumental for, by means of. Maybe we could make this instrumental commutative to make it, like by means of or together with someone. Locative for position, ablative for moving away from something, and vocative for addressing. Um, I'm tempted between the instrumental and instrumental commutative. Which one is more likely to appear? The instrumental has this much, and the instrumental comitative has this much. So the instrumental is more common. So I'm gonna say it's an instrumental, and the comitative can be expressed with like a separate word meaning with, which could evolve into like a noun case in some branch, maybe. I don't know. Um, sure, sure. Let's do this. So we got 8 cases. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's look at what cases are also. Yeah, we have commitative with quite a few languages, so that could be interesting. Um, hmm. Allative is, well, allative also has some, and illative too. Ablative has a lot, so obviously we're including that. Locative. Also, we could be a bit special and include like a case that usually you don't see in languages. We could be like that. Um, we could include some rarer stuff. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. Uh, yeah, I think actually this is gonna be fine for now. So these are our cases. Now, how are we gonna mark them? Nominatives are marked, obviously. So nominative is gonna be unmarked. Accusative. Accusative is interesting because I don't know what accusative can surface from. Dative can surface from something like to give. Genitive can come from something like to have. Instrumental, uh, maybe like something like to use. Locative, um, locative. What could locative come from? Place. It could come from, or it could come from a general preposition, something like at and on. Uh, I'm gonna remove this. Hold on. I'm gonna make this less ambiguous. So it could come from either those. Ablative, moving away from, is like something like to go, I guess. To go could move, work. Vocative. What could vocative come from? I have no clue. Actually, I have no clue. So the only 2 cases I don't know what could be like what they could come from is accusative and vocative. Can come from dative case or another source. At positions, yeah. Verbs of taking like take or hold. Specifically in Spanish, personal I is a preposition that now marks animate objects. Uh-huh. Latin, from the goal function of the case is infinite. I'm pretty sure Latin got its accusative from um, Proto-European accusative, which was an M, you know. I know how it works now. I'm very curious of like where does it derive from? In English language, only words that occur are pronouns. Yeah, I know. Uh, because the case in many languages is the object of some or all prepositions. What? Accusative case is used in many languages for the object of some or all prepositions. It is usually combined with a nominative case. Yeah. It's typical of early Indo-European languages and still exists in some of them. Yeah, quite like nearly all Indo-European languages have it. Um, yeah, the Finno-Greek languages, Turkic, Dravidian, Semitic, Semitic. Some Balto-Finnic languages have Finnish have two cases for objects. Deportative. What does deportative do? Portionless or without result. Result is the context or subgroup is selected from larger group. Uh-huh. Telic? Necessity is the property of a verb or verb phrase that presents an action or event as having a specified end point. Ah, okay, okay, okay. Uh, um, yeah, Latin. You know, the minor difference in the accusative. Nouns in the accusative can be used as direct. Okay, yeah, it's just it can be used for everything. German, yeah. Russian, Polish. Polish is very similar to Russian in that sense. Finnish. Use of kind of negative nominative case or the genitive case for person friends with person. Yeah. Hungarian. Yeah, I know my own language. Semitic languages. Doesn't help a lot. No. Development of accusative. Yeah. Quantitative dative. Uh, hmm. I don't know. Doesn't help a lot. Now, vocative is another one, but I guess that could something like, do you have like exclamation like O and then you just affix that on the end? Like, I guess that could work. Why did I open a new tab? Holy, that was scary. Um, so the accusative. Now, where could the accusative come from? It said to take, which to take, I guess it's interesting because actually that does work. Not like to take or to get. Actually, to get. To get. It's gonna work. It's gonna work. Hold on. To get could work because the action and the object gets the action like like it's hard to explain, but I think I get it. An evocative, I don't know, something like you take like air and just say that it's the ending, but then the problem is that's the same as the first person verb ending, so yeah, I don't know. And like something like a as the ending. Like a. I want to preserve the A. I don't want it to turn into an E. I guess we'll have to do it. Like A could work. I guess. I guess. Uh, Yippee. Wow. I don't know. What else do we do with this? I guess nouns, yeah. We gotta define also some way of numbers. And now that I'm talking about it, nouns, I was wondering if I could use like a masculine, like a like a masculine, feminine, neuter split, or an animate, inanimate split. Because I want to kind of want to have noun classes, um, which I could get, I guess. The most likely one is animate, inanimate. Could surface, which doesn't luckily require an ending, but maybe could be like randomized to have an ending. I don't know. Um, hmm. And then maybe uh they could have like separate endings. So inanimate ones here, and then maybe I could do like a way that animate nouns. Hold on. Oopsies. Hold on. I lost control. I lost control. So inanimate nouns wouldn't have a vocative, and they would the locative would come from place. The ablative to go, I guess, yeah. To use, yes. And then here the instrumental. For example, for animate nouns, the instrumental could instead come from with, because in that case, then it's, together with something. And then the inanimate nouns maybe get they like have the accusative come from to get, while animate nouns, since they're perceived as, animate, they could be like either to take, because like they willingly take away the action and, give it to themselves or something like that. And genitive, I think I could do that instead here, the genitive comes from the apposition at, in, on, and then here for the animate nouns, the locative is coming from at, in, on. And actually, let me mark this properly because I'm gonna lose myself in this. Hold there we go. Animate. And then I'm wondering, dative to give. Can I change that too? And the ablative. To go, right? Maybe the animate ablative could go from to walk. No. I thought someone was home. Like ablative could come from distance? I don't know. I'm gonna keep it as to go for now. I want to change the dative for them because I'm actually wondering. So the animate noun dative could come from to give, but the animate come from to get because they get whatever they are given, right? And the inanimate nouns are considered to be giving. I should do some word building. Really, seriously, I should do word building. I already have like an image. Where is it? I need Kahigi world. What am I smoking? Anyways, let me just show y'all. I need a window capture. And it's gonna be the photos. There we go. So right here, right? You see this? You see this? So this is supposedly a map I drew out. This is weird. It looks really weird, but essentially this was the main idea. And I think originally this was intended for that funny language family. Remember Khatas? I did a showcase video on that. That's still embarrassing on Meraogu. Essentially, that was supposed to be that world, but I was like, fuck it, we're not doing that. And oops. And maybe I could take this map and actually put the languages on it, but this map is like not a whole globe. So I could like expand this. I don't know. Anyways, the idea is to like take this, and just place the language somewhere on it. And I should have a world. Uh, you know, I should have a world for it. And then I have to do world building, like, what's the context of all this? Like, why evolve from that? Because language is influenced by the way that people live. And, sorry. It's influenced by the way people live and like where they are, not just vocabulary, but also grammar wise, like where the cases come from, especially if you have an inanimate animate distinction. It's like inanimate nouns are like bottom of the society, and they're like you know they're like the servants, I don't know, and the animate nouns are the rulers, they're superior and such and such. So that could be interesting. How? Uh, yeah. Well, yeah. That's another. That's probably part of another stream I'm gonna do. For now, I'm just gonna think about this. What else can I change? Hmm. I think for now, actually, these noun cases are fine. I want to change the ablative and the yeah. Actually, only the ablative is left to be changed. I want to change the ablative so that the two classes have it different. Um, yeah. Okay. I think that's decent. That's decent. We did a bunch of brainstorming and found out about a bunch of stuff that could be interesting, especially with verbs. I'm really content with verbs right now. I really like that. Uh, we'll have to figure out nouns. Then let's see, adjectives. Adjectives could also be influenced by the noun. They would agree with whether it's an inanimate noun or an animate noun, right? So we'd have inanimate and animate next to adjectives. Adverbs, I'm not sure. Oh, Jesus. I'm not sure. Mm, they could be a thing, maybe, I guess. Yeah, adverbs. What kind of parts of speech are there more? Uh, some other stuff as well, something like and or right, like affirmation and negation. Uh, yeah. I read like a bunch of stuff that I don't know what to do with it. Something like late or early, actually. Although early is an adjective, late is an adjective. And then later is an adverb, I think. I don't know. Uh, yeah, that's a lot to think about. So why is word evil? I'm just noticing that it has like a gray part on its icon. Like turning evil. Anyway, there's a lot to think about right now, and I'm slowly reaching the maximum thinking capacity. So, to anyone who tuned in to watch this stream, even on like just a second screen or something, thank you. And see y'all later. I don't know if I'm gonna stream again today. Maybe I'm gonna stream something like Minecraft, I don't know. But yeah, see you all soon sometime. I promise I'll upload some video. And bye. Have a good day or night.